Everyone join me in a pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. I believe Supervisor record, please.
My name is Carolyn Felt. I live at 7409 14th Avenue. You have a resolution before you tonight encouraging the state legislature to remove the language about aging and disability resource centers from the governor's budget bill. That language allows the State Department of Health Services to cancel its contract with Kenosha County, a contract worth almost $2 million, which funds a division of your Human Services Department to provide free information and assistance to any elders and persons with disabilities in Kenosha County. It's important to note that the state fully funds the Aging and Disability Resource Center. There is no required county match. The governor gives no reason for this move and does not budget any savings from canceling the contract. This language removes both legislative and county government oversight and gives complete leeway to the State Department of Health Services. The county-based resource centers could be replaced with one or more 800 phone numbers for elders to call for help instead of coming to the resource center. Kenosha County's Aging and Disability Resource Center is a valuable asset for folks struggling to manage their care at home, to understand their Medicare health insurance, or to apply for services. This budget language puts this local resource at risk. Thank you for your consideration of the resolution.
Thank you. Any other citizens wishing to speak? Any other citizens wishing to speak? Any other citizens wishing to speak? Citizen comments is closed. The announcements that I have this evening, I'd like to wish everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day. I'd like to welcome our youth and governance that are in attendance with us, Madeline Artek and Jared Meyer. Welcome. And just to remind everybody, our next meeting is Wednesday, April 8th, due to the election on April 7th. So our next meeting will be Wednesday, April 8th. Supervisor reports. Supervisor Dodge.
Yes, I'd like to say a few words on behalf of the veterans program they have. It's called Heroes Cafe in Kenosha. Every Friday morning, it's put on by two different businesses in the community, and for the veterans, they have coffee and donuts, and it's very well attended. And I'd like to put a special thank you into Piasecki Funeral Home for providing the plates, napkins, and the creamer, and the juices, and then Festival Foods provides all the coffee and donuts, and the veterans meet there every Friday morning, like I said, from 8 till 12, and it's just a fantastic event, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Dodge. Supervisor Noble.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the last meeting that we had, we went over a conditional use permit, and I've said that I would report on those because they don't come back to the full county board. But the committee approved a conditional use permit for the Kenosha County Country Club and Neil Contormson and Harley LLC agent in the town of Summers for a golf course in a PR1 Park and Recreational District to allow for the construction of a pool house and fitness center. So they're remodeling, and they're going to put in a pool house and a fitness center, and we gave them the conditional use permit to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Noble. Supervisor Decker?
I just have a question about your announcement about the meeting for next April the 8th. We have our PDEC meeting scheduled that evening at 6. Has that been relayed to the Extension Education Committee that our county board meeting is that same evening? Just a thought.
Well,
I'll do that tomorrow.
Thank you.
they'll be notified tomorrow of that change.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I won't speak on the stuff for Human Services Committee because that's on the agenda for later on tonight. But I do want to make mention that I was privileged enough last month to attend the National Association of Counties Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C. It was in the middle of last month. I spent, I want to say it was 4 or 5 days there. The first day and a half were dedicated to technology. The second day was dedicated to primarily transportation, split between transportation and the arts. I sit on 2 steering committees, one being transportation, the other one being the Arts and Culture Commission. I'll start with the technology stuff. There were a number of things that were discussed. Probably among them that I think is most relevant for us was the conversation that they had around cybersecurity and making sure that not just electeds, but that staff in counties are doing everything that they possibly can to try to safeguard our data and our information. I know some of you probably checked the news and saw that Blue Cross was hacked. It is true that healthcare companies are the #1 target for hackers. When they cannot get into their systems, then hackers typically try to find other pieces of information that might perhaps lead them into their system in other fashions. And so what they talked about was the ways that local governments, namely counties, have become sort of the back door for hackers to find people's information. I sat across the table from the county board chair from Waukesha, who shared with me that I guess Target has been in their community and has done some expansion work that was fairly significant. And he mentioned to me, he says, now that you all have Amazon, you're really going to have to look out, because it basically makes us appear as a technology target for folks that are looking for identity theft to steal people's information. So NACO does have a number of resources. The interesting thing about the technology forums is they're actually led by the number 1, 2, 3, and 4 counties on technology issues, one of which is Montgomery County, Maryland. The other one is, I want to say Alexandria, Virginia, but I don't think that that's correct. And so they have resources to work with not just our IT department, but also with electeds. And they unveiled a new tool. I know I had mentioned before about COIN, this sort of interactive map that allows you to compare something like 30 to 60 different data sets across counties, from education to spending from the federal government to recovering from natural disasters. There's a whole host of things. You used to have a password to get into that. Now they have made it free and accessible, and I've got the link somewhere here on my desk. I apologize, we had midterms this past week, so things here are a little scrambled. The transportation conversation that was had with the steering committee was interesting. There was a gentleman who is the chief of policy for the U.S. Department of Transportation, who basically came and reported to the steering committee that the current Secretary of Transportation, Mr. Fox, had a conversation with the secretary from, I believe it was under, I want to say it was under President Carter, about a document that was started then, where basically it was a cross-agency conversation. So they pulled a few people from roads, a few people from airports, a few people from harbors, and so forth, and said, what does our U.S. transportation network look like going 30 years, 50 years? What should it look like? What does it look like with demographic trends, economic trends, and so forth, to try to carve out a vision for what this might look like. Naturally, the committee had a number of questions about it. It is available online for public comment. If any of you are interested in that, I've got the link for that too. Just ask me. But I did ask him one question, and it was pretty simple. It was, you know, it's great that the department is working in this fashion and presenting it to the public and wants input. It's a fascinating way of doing policy. But to what extent are we actually going to do something? Are we actually going to fix something? There are a number of committee members that had questions about funding and so forth and all kinds of other things, but really the heart of the matter is that if it's not going to lead to any kind of action, all of those other questions are irrelevant. What was shared with us is that we can probably not expect to see a transportation bill during this legislative term. At the point when we were there, it had only been about maybe 50 days, I think, into the new legislative session, and they'd only gotten 2 things passed at the federal government that would have passed anyway, provided one U.S. senator did not exercise his right to filibuster. The veterans came up as an issue during the Arts and Culture Commission meeting. There's actually a pilot project that's been going on with creative writing to particularly help veterans that have PTSD. It's something that we'll probably talk about in Human Services. It's something that looks like we could do for very, very minimal cost, and that would have a really, really, really big impact. And so actually, the day after I left, there was a conversation, I believe it was at the National Institute of Health, around arts programs for veterans and what could be done to help people reintegrate into their communities. I've got some handouts with me from that. If people want to take a look at that or take it with them, that's fine too. There's a whole host of things I've got in this bag on the floor here from NACO. The other thing I want to make mention of is I know I had talked about 2-3 meetings ago some of the, how would you say, I guess, issues pertaining to law enforcement and people of color. I've been in limited dialogue with Anthony Kennedy, given both of our schedules. But what we have been able to do is at least trade resources back and forth with which could become a template for something to further develop. Among those were 2 radio series from This American Life called Cops See It Differently. That's divided up into a part 1 and part 2. And we are currently reading the book, or at least he is, I've already finished it, The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Color Blindness by Michelle Alexander, which is something I would recommend everybody pick up and read. It will change your life in ways that you cannot possibly know. So he and I will be continuing on that. We're awaiting, to a certain extent, some of the recommendations or the final recommendations from the President's 21st Century Task Force on Policing. And I know he has reviewed the Department of Justice report on Ferguson, as have I. So that's just sort of where we are. It's just sort of in a research phase at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Ritzlaff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to take a minute to thank Mr. Gertson, Cruiser, and Sheriff Beth, who are today with the incorporation. Summers is in the middle of this. It's very important to the residents of Summers, and I would like to thank them for being there and showing the county support in this endeavor. Again, thank you, and it's important that we all support the endeavor that's going on with Summers Incorporation, because it's to our residents, it's important. So again, thank you to everyone in the county for their help. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Seeing no other lights, we'll move on. County Clerk?
County Executive Appointment, Julia Hauseman to serve on the Kenosha County Workforce Development Board.
Refer to Human Service Committee.
Old Business, Resolution 99, from the Executive Committee, a resolution opposing the countywide assessment initiative contained in the proposed state budget. Kubicki, yes. Brunig, yes. Rose, yes. Elverman, yes. Hallman, yes. Esposito, yes. Noble, yes.
Supervisor Rose?
Mr. Chairman, I would move the Resolution 99.
Second. Resolution 99 has been moved by Supervisor Rose, seconded by Supervisor Elverman. Supervisor Rose.
Thank you. This resolution is prompted by a proposed change found in the current state budget as proposed by the governor to be considered by our legislators. We are urging them to remove the requirement that the county-wide assessment program be reinstituted. Kenosha County was the only county in the state to have county-wide assessing when it was funded mostly by state funds. Other counties did not have it. After state funding was removed, Kenosha County eliminated countywide assessing, and it was referred back to municipalities where it is today. If this program is reinstituted, it will be a requirement that we have county-wide assessing, and further that we pay for it ourselves. This is anticipated to be a cost of approximately $1 million, as given to me by, estimated by our finance director and budget director. Therefore, we are requesting and urging our state legislators to oppose this and remove it from the budget.
Thank you. Seeing no lights on this, it's a simple...
Roll call requested.
Roll call has been requested. Vote yes if you're in favor, or no if you're against. Just give her a minute to set it up.
There's no water.
Okay.
Ordinance 39 from Planning Development and Extension Education Committee, ordinance regarding proposed comprehensive plan amendment, attic self-storage LM Incorporated owner, Town of Salem agent, requesting an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County 2035, map 65 of the comprehensive plan, from high-density residential to business industrial park in the Town of Salem. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Skalitsky, excused. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble?
I move ordinance number 39.
Ordinance 39 has been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Decker. Supervisor Noble.
This property is located on the northeast corner of County Highway C, Wilmot Road, and 254th Court. The comprehensive plan amendment will allow a revision of map 65 of the comprehensive plan from high-density residential to business industrial park. The Town of Salem recommended approval of the request, and so does the committee. For background, this particular, there's several of these items on the agenda is getting the documentation in order so that this self-attic storage L&M, once the zoning and so on gets in place, they're going to sell it to the town of, to the CAVA to make the industrial park that we talked about on our last meeting. This particular piece of property is about a 3-acre piece of property that looks like a tent on the maps, and it, in the comprehensive plan, it was probably inadvertently included as part of the mobile home park, but it's really not part of the mobile home park. It's part of what's going to be the industrial park. Thank you.
Very good. Seeing no lights, this is a simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, passes. Clerk.
Ordinance 40 from Planning Development Extension Education Committee, ordinance regarding attic self-storage LM Incorporated owner, Town of Salem agent, requesting a rezoning from A1 Agricultural Preservation District and C1 Lowland Resource Conservancy District to BP1 Business Park District, R3 Urban Single Family Residential District, and C1 Lowland Resource Conservancy District in the Town of Salem. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Skalitsky, excused. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble.
I move ordinance number 40.
Ordinance 40 has been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Ritzloff. Supervisor Noble.
This property is located in the same general area, northeast corner of County Highway C and 254th Court. The rezoning would allow for the development of the proposed Salem Business Park. The Town of Salem recommended approval of the request, and so did the committee. If you look at the map, the biggest piece of the property, 38.7 acres, will be business park. attic self-storage, he's going to keep the 6.7 acres and it's going to be rezoned to R3. And there's a buffer in between that remains C1. So again, this gets all the zoning in place so that they, once everything gets set tonight, they can effectuate the sale and start selling property for business park.
Thank you. Seeing no lights, it's a simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes.
Ordinance 41 from Planning Development Extension Education Committee, ordinance regarding proposed comprehensive plan amendment, Henry C. D. Clementi Trust, 60093 owner, Jack D. Clementi agent, requested an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County, 2035, map 65 of the comprehensive plan, from farmland preservation and PEC to general agricultural and open land and PEC in the town of Brighton. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Galitsky, excused. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble.
I move ordinance number 41.
Ordinance number 41's been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Gable. Supervisor Noble.
This property is located on the northwest corner of County Highway NN and County Highway B. The comprehensive plan amendment will allow the revision of map 65 of the comprehensive plan from farmland preservation and PEC to general agriculture and open land and PEC. The town of Brighton recommended approval of the request, and so did the committee. The background on this is, as you saw, the property is in a trust. The 8 siblings of the family that they all have lived on that property, they basically want to do this so that they ultimately at some point can divide that property up amongst the 8 of them.
Thank you. Seeing no lights, a simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes.
Ordinance 42 from Planning Development Extension Education Committee, ordinance regarding Town of Salem requesting a rezoning from A1 Agricultural Preservation District to BP1 Business Park District and C1 Lowland Resource Conservancy District in the Town of Salem. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Galitsky, excused. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble.
Move ordinance 42.
Ordinance 42 has been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Decker. Supervisor Noble.
Thank you. This property is located on the north side of Highway C and about 1,000 feet east of 251st Avenue. The rezoning would allow for the development of the proposed Salem Business Park in conjunction with the piece of property that we talked about earlier. And the town of Salem recommended approval of the request, and so did the committee. You'll see that this piece of property is adjacent to the former piece of property and immediately east of the mobile home park. It has 2 small pieces of C1, wetlands in it, which will remain wetland. The rest of it will be developed into a business park.
Thank you. Seeing no lights, simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes.
Ordinance 43 from Planning Development Extension Education Committee, ordinance regarding Robert M. and Vivian R. Loreen, trustees owner, David Smith agent, requesting a rezoning from R5 Urban Single Family Residential District, R6 Urban Single Family Residential District, and R2 Suburban Single Family Residential District to R5 Urban Single Family Residential District and R2 Suburban Single Family Residential District in the town of Randall. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Galitsky, excused. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble.
I move ordinance number 43.
Ordinance 43 has been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Ritzloff. Supervisor Noble.
This property is located on the west side of 392nd Avenue, approximately 600 feet south of County Highway F, or Bloomfield Road. The rezoning will allow for the property to be subdivided into 2 lots, and the town of Randall, as well as the committee, recommended approval of the request. If you look at the map, you'll see that this piece of property is adjacent or is lake frontage on Powers Lake, and they're going to take this piece of property and make 2 equal 40,000 square foot lots and build 2 separate homes on it.
Thank you. Seeing no lights, simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes.
Resolution 100 from Finance and Administration Committee, initial resolution authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $21,920,000 general obligation refunding bonds. Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. O'Day, yes. Colmeyer, yes. Brunig, yes. Gens, yes. Dodge, yes.
Thank you. Before we move on, I'm going to interject with the council on this particular resolution before we move on. Council, you have the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to just draw the board's attention quickly to a Scrivener's error when this was prepared by bond counsel, and we confirmed that prior to the meeting this evening. It references the resolution being passed by an affirmative vote of at least 3/4 of the members elect. That is typically the procedure for an initial bonding resolution. However, there is an exception in the statute for a resolution of this nature, which is general obligation refunding bonds. It only requires a simple majority to pass such a resolution. In order to conform with the statutes and the correct language and procedure, the resolution probably should be amended. It is my suggestion that could be done by essentially unanimous consent without objection. Otherwise, I think a motion to amend would be necessary. We would have to strike the language at least 3/4 and replace it with a majority, and we would want to strike in the statutory reference section 67.045 sub 1 sub F. That F should instead be sub E, which makes reference to refunding bonds.
I would so move, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved by Supervisor Rolls to amend and seconded by Supervisor Gable on that particular resolution. All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so I think we clarified that, correct? All right, so now we'll go back to moving the resolution as amended by Supervisor Rolls. You want to move that?
I will. I would move resolution number 100 as amended.
Resolution 100 has been moved as amended by Supervisor Rolls, seconded by Supervisor Ron Frederick. Supervisor Rolls, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. My remarks will be applicable to not only this 100, but 101 resolution as well. The important document here is in your packet. It's a multicolored page with the seal called Pre-Sale Report, Kenosha County, $2,920,000 General Obligation Refunding Bonds. The term refunding is really the key what you're voting on this evening. This is not, while this is new refunding, it is not a new obligation, but merely paying off some old bonds for favorable reasons, which we will talk about. As the document informs you, during the recession, there was a public policy from the federal government that was adopted authorizing what they call Build America bonds, if you recall that term. Those Build America bonds were something favorable to counties because we received a rebate of anywhere from 35% to 45% of the interest that we paid on those bonds. This was a federal program to encourage at local level construction of projects which would employ people, and to encourage us to do that, 35 to 45% of the interest was subsidized, in other words, by the federal government, which is unlike any other bonds. We have 3 such Build America bonds. Those are all listed at page 1 of the document, and those bonds are going to be refunded with this indebtedness of some $21,920,000. Now, if you recall, during one of the fairly recent debates of Congress, the term sequestration, well, that is the reason why we are refunding these bonds this evening, because sequestration required that 7% be cut out of certain programs of the federal government, and this is one of them. So therefore, we would not receive that 35 to 45% interest rebate any longer. It would be shaved by some 7%. In being advised by Ehlers At our last meeting, the thought was that the refunding bonds were necessary because if sequestration shaves 7% off, it is more than likely that that 7% could become a greater number in the future or eliminated altogether. Therefore, we, the Ehlers, together with the finance director and budget director, recommended to the finance committee, and we recommend to you, that we rebate or refund these bonds and issue the new bonds. Now, if you take a look at page 10 of your document, you will see what the potential savings are as projected based on certain parameters that are set forth in these refunding bonds. The total savings here projected in the yellow column of some $460,452 by doing this. Now, unlike some other bonds that we offer for bid, here we're going to have some minimum parameters, and that's what Resolution 101 deals with. If we don't receive any bids for these parameters, of course, there would be no refunding bonds, and the Director of Finance and Budget Director and Ehlers would have to come back to us with some other kind of plan or abandon the idea altogether, but that is not anticipated. As I say, usually when we recommend bonding, there are not minimum parameters, but if you look at page 3, these are the minimum parameters to save a minimum amount of money as we've just set forth here over a period of time. We're saying to those who might be interested, if you want to bid on these bonds, these are the minimum terms and conditions as required, and you'll see those starting at the bottom of page 3 and page 4. Of course, first is the size, $21,920,000, the purchase price of not less than, and maturity levels, and a minimum savings of at least 0.5%, and that's why the recommended parameter savings are listed there at page 10. There are some other things here that are listed. So we're saying to these prospective bidders, all of these items, and I won't read them all to you, but all of these items must be fulfilled before you will become a successful bidder. If you meet those, we will, the finance director is authorized and the county executive authorized to accept those bids without having the bids come back to the county board. If you recall on other issues, we pass a resolution, initial resolution, it's put out to bid, it comes back to the board. Mr. Ehlers and Mr. Gersten usually advise the board, these are the bids, these are the terms and conditions. We approve. This is a little different. Up front, we are saying this is what we expect, and if you bidders accept those, the county executive is authorized to approve of the sale. It's a little different, but we have been advised by bond counsel that that is a legal way of doing things. I think that in general explains what these refunding bonds are this evening. It's not really new indebtedness, but an attempt to save almost $500,000 minimum if this is approved.
Thank you. Seeing no lights on this particular issue, resolution,
Roll call requested.
roll call's been requested on the amended resolution 100. Vote yes if you're in favor or no if you're against.
One from the Finance Administration Committee regarding a resolution authorizing and providing for the issuance and establishing the perimeters for the sale of not to exceed $21,920,000 general obligation refunding funds and certain related details. Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. O'Day, yes. Colmeyer, yes. Brunig, yes. Gens, yes. Dodge, yes.
Supervisor Rose.
Move Resolution 101.
Resolution 101's been moved by Supervisor Rose, seconded by Supervisor O'Day. Supervisor Rose.
I have nothing further to say.
No, I think you've covered it well there. Any other lights? I see none. Simple majority vote, and we have a roll call requested.
Yes.
Vote yes if you're in favor, or no if you're against. Resolution 101. County Clerk.
Resolution 102 from Finance Administration Committee, a resolution to approve Kenosha County's intent and agreement to self-insure for workers' compensation. Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. O'Day, yes. Colmeyer, yes. Brunig, yes. Gens, yes. Dodge, yes.
Supervisor Rose.
I would move Resolution 102.
Okay, Resolution 102's been moved by Supervisor Rose, seconded by Supervisor Colmeyer. Supervisor Rose.
Thank you. This is a standard procedure type of resolution to approve the county's intent and agreement to self-insure for workers' compensation. The terms as set forth in the document are precisely the terms that we've had in the past. We are self-insured, as it's pointed out, and nothing has changed, but this is a routine agreement to self-insure for workers' compensation. And we've been so advised by the Personnel Director, Mr. Riedel, who is present.
Thank you. Seeing no lights, simple majority vote. All those in favor of Resolution 102, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, passes unanimously. County Clerk.
Just a question to Supervisor Retzloff on these following resolutions. You've had a signature, but no check off on your vote. I'm assuming they're all yes? Okay. Resolution 103 from Human Service Committee, a resolution to approve the reappointment of Sandra Basiglia to the Kenosha County Board of Administrative Appeals. Hallman, yes. Gable, yes. Anita Johnson, yes. Decker, excused. Arrington, yes. Blau, yes. Retzloff, yes.
Supervisor Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move resolutions 103, 104, 105, 106, and 107 upon being read.
Is there any objection to that from the body? Any objection? Seeing none, what we'll do is we'll read the first one fully, and then I'll have a second, and then we'll proceed by reading them all after that. Okay?
Resolution 103 from Human Service Committee, a resolution to approve the reappointment of I read that one. 104 from Human Service Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Lauren Fox to the Kenosha County Board of Administrative Appeals. Hallman, yes. Gable, yes. Anita Johnson, yes. Decker, excused. Arrington, yes. Blau, yes. Retzloff, yes. 105 from Human Service Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Bill Erickson to the Kenosha County Board of Administrative Appeals. Hallman, yes. Gable, yes. Anita Johnson, yes. Decker, excused. Arrington, yes. Blau, yes. Retzloff, yes. Resolution 106 from Human Service Committee, a resolution to approve the reappointment of Supervisor Ronald Johnson to the Brookside Board of Trustees. Hallman, yes. Gable, yes. Anita Johnson, yes. Decker, excused. Arrington, yes. Blau, yes. Retzloff, yes. 107 from Human Service Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Edmund Weaver to the Kenosha County Aging and Disability Resource Center Board. Hallman, yes. Gable, yes. Anita Johnson, yes. Decker, excused. Arrington, yes. Blau, yes. Retzloff, yes.
Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These individuals came before the Human Services Committee and were passed unanimously. I know we did have one member who did want to know if the information about whether or not folks had missed meetings was still going to be reported. It is. I think we had a batch before where there were some folks that were new, and so maybe that's why that wasn't on there, but it's usually right on the front side along with the reappointment. So.
Okay. Those resolutions have been moved by Supervisor Hallman and seconded by Supervisor Galen. Simple majority vote on items number 103 through 107. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. Passes unanimously. Clerk.
Resolution 108 from Judiciary and Law and Finance Administration Committees, a resolution 2015 WIOJA CDOG Drug Task Force Grant. Judiciary and Law, Esposito, yes. Anita Johnson, yes. Boyd Frederick, yes. Arrington excused. Ron Johnson, yes. Blau, yes. Poole, yes. Finance Administration, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. O'Day, yes. Brunig, yes. Colmeyer, yes. Dodge, yes. Gens, yes.
Hold on a minute there. Supervisor Hallman, has something to add?
I do, but I'll wait until the chairman of Judiciary and Law has spoken.
Supervisor Esposito, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Resolution 108.
108's been moved by Supervisor Esposito, seconded by Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Esposito.
This resolution is the 2015 Wisconsin OJA Multi-Jurisdictional Drug Task Force Grant. This is a consortium between Racine, Kenosha, Dodge, Jefferson, and Walworth counties, operating, also known as the Southeast Area Drug Operations Group, or CDOG. Our portion of this grant is $53,140. Obviously, it is directly correlative to drug operations. It was approved by both committees, and I urge your approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Esposito. Supervisor Hallman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be voting no. As you heard me say earlier, Alderman Anthony Kennedy and I have been in the research phase for quite some time. One of the things that has surfaced that has been a major focal point has been the war on drugs, and I'll spare this body the rather lengthy explanation, but for me, in learning of its orchestration, its execution, the violence inside of neighborhoods, the evisceration of constitutional rights, in many ways, the war on drugs really only serves to solidify in communities of color, particularly poor communities of color, law enforcement is an occupying force. And I don't think, if I want to sleep tonight, I don't think I can vote in favor of this, so I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no other lights, this is a 2/3 required vote. I'm going to vote. I need to have roll call on this particular item. Yes if you're in favor, or no if you're against, please.
From Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee, a resolution to approve the reappointment of Douglas James McElmurray to serve as member of the Local Emergency Planning Committee. Esposito, yes. Anita Johnson, yes. Boyd Frederick, yes. Arrington excused. Ron Johnson, yes. Blau, yes. Poole, yes.
Supervisor Esposito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Resolution 109.
Resolution 109 has been moved by Supervisor Esposito, seconded by Supervisor Anita Johnson. Supervisor Esposito.
Thank you. This resolution is the reappointment of Douglas McElmurray to serve on the member of the Local Emergency Planning Committee. Obviously, it is a reappointment. It is a 3-year term, serve without pay. Out of the 12 meetings or so that they had, I believe one was missed and it was excused. He's been very committed to this local planning committee, and I urge your approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Esposito. Seeing no lights, simple majority. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes.
Resolution 110 from Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee, probationary cabaret license extension, 6 months for the Upper Deck Bar. Esposito, yes. Anita Johnson, yes. Boyd Frederick, yes. Arrington excused. Ron Johnson, yes. Blau, yes. Poole, yes.
Supervisor Esposito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Resolution 110.
Resolution 110's been moved by Supervisor Esposito, seconded by Supervisor Boyd Frederick. Supervisor Esposito.
Thank you. This resolution is involving the Upper Deck Bar. We extended their probation for 6 months. There seemed to be a parking issue that was brought to our attention where people, after gathering would be walking in the streets, so on and so forth. Again, we thought it was right that Captain Weichert from the Field Operations Sheriff Department has now contacted Summers. They're going to address that parking problem. It's a very narrow road on kind of the old county trunk coming off of Sheridan Road, and so on and so forth. There was some prior issues with the bar from the Summers Township. So when they were issued the probationary, they did comply with everything we asked them to do. So again, we are going to extend this cabaret under probationary provisions for 6 months and address it accordingly in that time frame. So I ask for your approval.
Thank you. Vice Chair Bruni.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Esposito, were the owners in attendance at this meeting?
At this meeting, no. At the original probationary cabaret, they were told they didn't have to be at this meeting. I talked to the owners prior to the meeting here. They're here at the county board meeting. They are here, yes.
Okay.
They understand the parking issue. I've already spoke with them directly about that. But there was no direct violation in regards to a cabaret. This is recommendations from the Sheriff's Department, obviously. They asked us, they did what we asked them to do prior to issuing the initial, but this is a problem with these people walking at 2, 3 in the morning on this road, and we're talking droves of people, you know, and with the snow that we've had this winter, when it piled up, it makes it very tight, and so on and so forth. So again, I didn't feel, or the committee felt, that there was a violation. We wanted to extend this and make sure that this parking issue was addressed properly, and then we would look at a regular cabaret.
Thank you. That's all.
Seeing no other lights, this is a simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, passes.
Resolution 111 from Planning Development Extension Education Committee, a resolution regarding proposed comprehensive plan amendment, attic self-storage LM Incorporated owner, Town of Salem agent, requesting an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County 2035, map 65 of the comprehensive plan, from high-density residential to business industrial park in the town of Salem. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Skalitsky, excused. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble.
I move Resolution 111.
Resolution 111's been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Decker. Supervisor Noble.
This property is located on the northeast corner of County Highway C, Wilmot Road, and 254th Court. It's the same property that we had on ordinance number 39. The reason it's on your agenda twice is the state requires a resolution from the Planning Development and Extension Education Committee, as well as an ordinance from the full county board to amend the comprehensive plan. This resolution would allow an amendment to the Kenosha County Comprehensive Plan for change from high-density residential to business industrial park. So the town of Salem and the committee recommended approval.
Thank you. Seeing no lights, simple majority. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, passes. Clerk.
Resolution 112 from Planning Development Extension Education Committee, resolution regarding proposed comprehensive plan amendment, Henry C. D. Clemente Trust owner, Jack D. Clemente agent, requests an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County 2035, map 65 of the comprehensive plan, from farmland preservation and PEC to general agriculture and open land and PEC in the town of Brighton. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Skalitsky, excused. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble.
I move Resolution 112.
Resolution 112 has been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Ritzloff. Supervisor Noble.
This property is located on the northwest corner of County Highway NN and County Highway B. It was also earlier on the agenda as ordinance number 41. The state requires a resolution from the Planning and Development and Education Committee, as well as an ordinance from the full county board to amend the comprehensive plan. This resolution would allow an amendment to the Kenosha County Comprehensive Plan for the change from farmland preservation and PEC to general agricultural open land and PEC. The town of Brighton and the committee recommended approval.
Thank you. Seeing no lights, simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes.
Resolution 113 from Supervisor Rose, a resolution supporting the development of the former Chrysler site as an industrial office park.
Refer to Finance and Administration.
Resolution 114 from Supervisor Boyd Frederick and Rick Dodge, a resolution to urge the Joint Finance Committee and/or the governor to keep ADRCs under the county control.
Refer to Human Service Committee.
Claims 40 Cindy Lee Badke, medical neglect.
Refer to Corporation Council.
41 Sean Bayless, personal injury.
Refer to Corporation Council.
Approval of the March 3rd, 2015 minutes by Supervisor Hallman.
Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion to approve the minutes of March 3rd, 2015.
The minutes of March 3rd, 2015 have been moved by Supervisor Hallman, seconded by Supervisor Arrington. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion to adjourn? Somebody make a motion. Okay, the motion has been made by Supervisor Esposito and seconded by Supervisor Decker. All those in favor of adjournment say aye. Aye. All those opposed. Thank you. Have a great evening.